Welcome to the Pick Up Korea podcast, and today I'm here with a very special guest who we shall call Hyung-nim, which is Big Brother in Korean. And he's been in Korea for around 11 years or a little more, and he's actually in his 50s, yet he's one of these guys that, I meet a lot of older guys here in Korea, and they're, either they're just at home alone or they're just stuck with, they're stuck with very unattractive women, and they're kind of like, they're in the mindset that their dating life is over, and they're not really living their life anymore. It almost feels like, right? And so I thought it'd be very useful to have Hyung on the podcast and share some of his insights, his experiences being in Korea over 11 years, and sort of his perspective, dating and approaching in Korea. All right, so first of all, I want to ask you, initially, why did you come to Korea? And what are some differences, in the dating scene or even living here that you've noticed between other places that you lived and other places you travel? Because I know that you travel a lot. So, yeah.
I decided to come to Korea. Well, it basically stems from the fact that I missed Asia because like in the late 90s, I was living in Japan for 4 years and teaching English there for the JET program. And it was a great time. After that 4 years, though, I went back to Canada and I worked and lived there for 5.5 years as a public school teacher. But a lot of that was substitute teaching, and the job situation was not good. And also, the whole entire time I was back in Canada, I always had this gnawing desire to just be living abroad again. I missed it, and I couldn't even articulate it to myself at the time. But now, in hindsight, it's the lifestyle. And so, basically, long story short, I procrastinated for actually about a year because it was still kind of, you get comfortable a bit back where you are, and but I just wasn't happy, and I just said I chose Korea. Actually, I was thinking between Korea, Taiwan, and Japan again, but I was tired of Japan. Even though I had a good time and everything, I just wanted something different. And I was also looking at getting university teaching jobs. And I was trying to get these different jobs in the different countries online, and it just wasn't happening. And I was living in Vancouver at the time, and it was there that I dated my first Korean girl ever. And then it was basically, we were not dating when I came here, but she was the catalyst that, I just was smitten with the beauty of Korean women, and it wasn't the only reason to come to Korea. It was also things like the pay was good. Japan was good too, but Japan was harder than to get the kind of job I wanted than I thought Korea would be. There was Taiwan, but Taiwan turned out to have a shitty kind of salary and system, no pension, stuff like that. So I missed Asia, and Korea had the best sort of setup for me financially that I hoped to acquire. And then I came here, I worked for a year in Daejeon in a Haegwon, and then I worked my butt off trying to get a university job, and I finally got one.
All right, cool. So we got a good idea of your background context, why you came to Korea, and sort of what led you to come here. What are the main differences you notice here, between here, maybe Canada, Japan, Southeast Asia, all these places you live and travel? What would you say are like the differences that really stick out to you, and to probably anybody else who, travels or lives in these other countries as well?
Okay, well, I guess I'll compare back to Canada first. So Western country, obviously. Of course, bear in mind this is when this is a long time ago because I'm no spring chicken. But so a lot has changed, but at the same time, maybe not changed. So I guess in terms of when I was young in Canada, I had no problem, ever having a girlfriend or getting bangs. Like the the 9s and 10s are always hard anywhere at any time. And but I had good social circle, and you know, I played a high level of ice hockey, and that really helped a lot. And I was always in, well, I should say good shape, but then I was doing drugs and that too, so I wasn't in the best shape. But anyways, with Western girls, you know, a lot of times when they're, you know, what can I say? They're pretty straight in your face about things, whether they like you or they don't like you. So the thing is, you know where you stand. And so that's a big thing there. And then just my time in Japan, well, you know, still quite a bit younger then. And the girls, of course, could be quite shy, but this was in the 90s, and I was still going out to clubs and partying a lot in that. And it was definitely at that time easier than my time in Korea. I did not do a day game at that time. You know, the listeners have to bear in mind there was no term called game. When you're talking about a guy my age, there was absolutely nothing to help young men attract and pick up women. There literally was nothing. You know, the internet was just in its baby phases. So, I mean, I guess I'm talking before the internet time. So some stuff started to creep in on the internet, but really, you know, compared to now, nothing. No YouTube videos, nothing. Anyways, Japanese girls basically in clubs and that, if they were in party mode and you know, you were in party mode, it was very easy to just caveman them out of the club, bounce them to a convenience store, like during the night, and you know, quickly bang them like a one-night stand. That was super easy at that time for me anyway. Anyway, okay, I'll jump to Korea. And again, bear in mind, I did not do day game at that time. All I did was go to clubs, party, and get wasted, drunk, and pull girls home. In Korea, well, coming here 11 years ago, I will say one thing about Japan. When occasionally, like during the day or early evening or something, like Japanese girls can be quite skittish too, like outside of the club, you know, in the initial approach. So I think that transitioning now to Korea, where that's definitely the big thing about here, I find. Not that I've been approaching it a lot the last couple of years, really. I have a here and there, because once I get a couple of good regs, I'm happy, and then the occasional bang.
Like yesterday.
Like yesterday with a girl 32 years younger than me. So, and a good looking one at that. There's my little self plug. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it seems like, I can't say, you know, of course every guy gets blowouts, and I've gotten blowouts here too, of course. I can't say most of the time I don't get harsh blowouts or anything, but it's just girls are, you know, hesitant, and what's the word I'm looking for? You know, they're I don't know if it's suspicious, but they're just not used to strangers coming up and talking to them, right? So
sort of emotionally reserved or something along those lines.
Yeah, reserved is the word I was looking for. And a weakness that I really have on approaches is that I'm way too. I mean, I've gotten better, but I'm often way too affected by that initial reaction, like, oh, you know, and I know that stems some issue within myself, but oh, you know, this means like, well, I'm making her uncomfortable, and oh, you know, and that's a lot of times I screw up my own approaches. But I think that's a big thing here in Korea, and you know, just the fact that Koreans worry so much about what other Koreans think of them. So sometimes you don't even know if, I mean, things are changing, I realize. So that's something you might want to elaborate on more. But girls are a lot, you know, image here is everything. People are way more concerned than anywhere else I've ever been about the judgment of others. So just that mindset within the culture obviously makes pickup here, more challenging than, say, a place like Southeast Asia, the Philippines, Thailand, Cambodia, whatever. I mean, there it's just.
What is it like approaching there?
Well, look, you don't have to even be at all attractive, right? And you can do very well, but if you have
some game,
like if you have really good, you don't need it. But I mean, the thing is, in a place like Southeast Asia, you don't need it if you don't care about just transactionally based attraction. Like, that's my personal thing that I think. You may disagree, but like, so you can be the most hideous, disgusting looking old guy in the world and you can get young, pretty women, but those women, like, okay, what can I get from this guy? What's he gonna buy me? Blah 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 blah.
They got their own hustle going.
Sure, that's my opinion, and I've seen it, not experienced it personally because I don't look like those guys my age. I'm very, very fit, as you know, and I have a degree of game where I can make. I want to have a sense that the girl genuinely likes me.
Okay.
But anyways,
okay.
It's just, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Day and night difference.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So what I'm really curious is, what is it like to game as an older guy, here in Korea? Because I'm in my 30s, you're in your 50s, so I'm actually genuinely curious and interested in what are the differences that you notice as you approach girls here in Korea. You go on these dates, you text them. What do what are some things, maybe they ask you like how old you are, or maybe you notice, different kind of reactions that you noticed you didn't have when you were younger. So I'm just really curious the differences and what, maybe you can enlighten us on that, right?
Okay, well, in regards to that, the first thing that I will say is when I approach any girl here, or anywhere for that matter, but let's say here in Korea, obviously they don't know my exact age. Having said that, they also don't know. They also know I'm not 25, right? So definitely I'm in the older guy category. So what's it like approaching girls approaching and dating? Yeah. So like approaching girls, I surprisingly, I do not get asked how old I am very rarely during an approach, right on an approach, but it does happen occasionally, not every time. Having said that, at some point the girl's going to ask how old I am. It'll happen either during the texting, like within the next day or couple of days, or it will happen on the D2. Sometimes if I don't close on a D2, then, and if I'm able to get her out again, then it will probably happen around that time. But if a girl asks me on text, I'll just say something like, and I got this from somebody else, it wasn't my thing, but sometimes I'll say, well, I'm old enough to drink, and then if they push, I'll just say, I'll tell you when we meet up. Like I'll tell you when I see you next time, right?
Cool.
And
you hold your frame,
yep,
kind of deflect it.
I do. It's basic. Most of the time I just say, I'll tell you when I see you, because the whole thing is, you don't want to get caught into especially on texting, right?
Logical exchange.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to, as after taking your program and you taught me, you want to get that, you just want to get the meat as soon as possible and get her out. So I deflect if it's on text. And then when I meet her for the D2 or whatever, and then if they ask me, I tend to deflect again. So it actually works really well for me most of the time. Like my ultimate goal is not address that again until after I close her. But it's not always possible. So if they really, really push, what I say is I go, well, I'm over 40, which is true. It's not a lie. I'm over 40, but it's just something. I'm over 40, but my heart is 25. Ha ha ha. And honestly, if we're vibing good and everything, it doesn't. I swear to God, it does not come up for a long time, or may come up after I bang her.
How about yesterday's girl? Did it come up at all?
No. Did it? No, it hasn't come up yet with her, and that was a D2 bang.
Nice.
She knows, she doesn't know how old I am, but she just made her comment was she said something like, it was a nice compliment. She said, "Oh, you're not like most older guys." She's like she meant she doesn't know how old I am. I'm sure she figures I'm in my 40s, because usually girls think I'm in my 40s, but she's just like, "Oh, you're not like most older guys." I go, what do you mean? She meant sort of with vibe and the way I talk and stuff too, but obviously being fit, I think, helps. She did not mention being fit, but I think the whole vibe. Anyways, but have I ever had a girl just even suspect I'm a certain age and not want to date me? Yeah, it's happened. Not as much as you expect, but it has happened. I told one girl once this was about 5 years ago. I told her directly during the D2 that this is the worst I've ever had it, and she got up she was pissed off. She got up and left, a Korean chick.
But I told her your exact age or something? Oh,
yeah, okay. And she was pissed off. And she said, "Oh, I thought you were younger, and you should have told me." And I said, "Well, it didn't come up," and blah, blah, blah. But that was the worst reaction I ever got. But usually I never tell girls my real age, except only if what I call them, they become a special reg. It's just what I call to myself a girl that I want to spend, I see myself spending more than at least a year, more than a year, maybe 2-3 years at least with her or something. I'll often tell them, but it will be after, and I've done that after the close and the relationships progress, maybe a few weeks or even a month or more, and I've never had a girl run away yet.
I know you're in your 50s and everything, but you still keep yourself very presentable. Your SMV, sexual market value, is still very high, and this isn't a coincidence. It's due to a lot of the habits that you form, right? Your eating, your diet, your exercise. I ran into you at the gym the other day, and maybe you have a skincare routine or anything along those lines. I'm sure that people would be really interested to hear how you keep yourself in such good shape and so presentable, right?
All right. It's really simple, although a lot harder to do, but it's just the basics, really. So for diet, I do eat a very clean diet 90% of the time. So, I'll cook at home. I have chicken breast with no skin, potatoes, but I don't put a lot of sour cream on it or anything, but maybe a little, whatever. Lots of fruit and vegetables. I eat fish, salmon. I drink at least 3 liters of water a day. Some days less, but usually that. What about the diet? What other things do I eat? I'll eat pasta and just all the basic food groups, basically, right? Whole wheat bread instead of white bread. I cook brown rice at home.
A lot of whole foods, basically.
Yeah,
would you say?
Yeah. It's really, as far as diet goes, just the basics: fruit and vegetables, whole foods. I try to stay away, not a lot of overly packaged processed stuff, but having said that, like I said, the sort of 90-10 rule, look, you gotta live life too. There's going to be guys listening to this and going, well, who cares? If I don't care if I'm a little bit overweight or whatever when I'm older, or even now, I want to enjoy a pizza or going out to Burger King or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. I love chocolate. I love pizza, but I just basically keep it at sort of 90% of the time I'm eating really clean and healthy, and then the other 10% I'll splurge here and there. You got to enjoy life. And then just the gym, though, I am very dedicated. I go 5 times a week religiously for like since my late 20s. When I was younger, I played hockey, but I also had some issues with drug use, cocaine use, and I didn't exercise other than playing hockey. I was a good hockey player, but at the same time, I don't know how I did it because I was such a mess in certain ways. But I was young too, so. But anyway, since that time when I got away from some bad habits, I just go to the gym 5 times a week. I run on the treadmill about 30 to 40 minutes every time, and then I weight train for about an hour, and I stretch, and I do abs and stuff. But it's hard for me too, but for me personally, it's an outlet. I like it, but I'm not going to lie too, it gives me a younger appearance.
Feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all that corny,
psychological too.
Absolutely. Sure. And it definitely makes me feel more confident when I'm dating much younger women. I will not say approaching, because even if I was 22 and super fit or I have bad approach anxiety, but not to go on the tangent, but still just to feel entitled enough to a woman. Like yesterday, I closed a very attractive 23-year-old Korean girl, and just to feel entitled to that in my mind, being very fit, just helps with that. But I will say that, just to encourage any other guy, look, if you hate going to the gym, you're not going to go to the gym, and you're not going to stick with it, fuck it. I have a very good friend of mine, lives in Canada, the same age as me. He was like 85 or almost 100 pounds overweight. He was your typical 40-something, like suburban dad, big gut, everything. And basically, his doctor warned him if he didn't start taking better care of his health and lose weight, he wouldn't live too long. Long story short, he got into tennis. He loves tennis, indoor in the winter, outdoor in the summer. He plays at least 3 times a week. He lost 100 pounds. He looks great. And he's just into some kind of activity that he enjoys.
Yeah, that's important, I think. What about skincare for you, per se? I'm curious about that, too.
Forgot about that part of the question. Yeah, again, it's just the basics. I mean, look, I don't mind saying I'm in my mid-50s, okay? So I'm not just 50, but oh, I miss those good old days. But some aging is going to start. You can't avoid it, right? It's just like I look at pictures of me 20 years ago. Holy shit, God, I looked great, right? But compared to most men my age, my skin is in good shape. It's just that, number one thing, guys, you can't fry it in the sun. Like, I know that sucks to hear that. I mean, putting on sunblock, I hate putting that shit on. But it's just a fact. If you boil your skin in the sun for 20 years or whatever, 30 years, when you start getting older, it's going to really show.
It's going to crack, yeah.
And the reason I didn't do that a lot when I was young wasn't because I cared about how looking younger when I was older. It was because I get sunburned so easily. So I was fortunate that way. Like I just get so sunburned. I either have to cake on the sunblock or just avoid the sun. So, but that's benefited me as I've gotten older. And then for the last 20 plus years or whatever, you take a shower, you never put soap on your face, you wash with a mild facial cleanser,
like a foaming cleanser type
thing.
Yeah,
great, good, Ryan. I exfoliate once a week. You can do it once or twice. My skin's very sensitive and dries out easy, so exfoliating, getting rid of the dead skin cells is critical for good skincare. And then I just every single friggin' day. Except during really humid weather, you don't really need to moisturize your skin
unless so like lotion
right,
after, yeah.
Unless you're always in an air-conditioned place.
Sure.
But pretty much all year round, I use a moisturizer that clicks with my skin. I use Clinique for Men because it doesn't. A lot of moisturizers make my skin react to them. It gets all red, so it's not reacting well. But Clinique moisturizer for men just goes really well. It doesn't irritate my skin.
Yeah, and they sell them in most department stores too in Korea. So
right, yeah. There's lots. Like basically, you can get like the facial cleanser. I just get it at Daiso. It works good for me. It's skincare is not expensive. Yeah. And the Clinique is about like $60 for the bottle, but it lasts for friggin' ever.
Right. Exactly.
And then basically just gentle cleansing, exfoliate, moisturize every day, and don't fry your skin in the sun. And things like smoking heavily or drinking excessively, it's obviously not going to help you look any younger, right?
All right, so I am very curious about a typical first date you go on, because I remember a long time ago we talked about this and you took my program, we went through the date module, and I remember that you don't usually go out for dinner. It's mostly like a coffee or maybe like one drink. So maybe you can tell the listeners about how you run your normal first dates.
Okay, yeah, my first dates are really basic, probably just a bit out of laziness. I don't want to have to think about them too much, really, but albeit you need to put some thought into them. I'll meet girl if it's obviously it's a date, so it's a D2 usually, because if it's a same day lay or something, I guess that's different, right? So we're talking D2s. I'll meet the girl at the station, which is where you usually meet them, and then I just either, if it's during the day, I'll bounce them. Actually, there's a really cool coffee shop, literally probably less than a minute walk from my house, a little cafe where people bring their dogs and even cats sometimes. And so that's how I always tell girls, like, I want to show you this really cool place. And that's where I usually bring girls, at least during the day, because he closes his shop at 8 p.m. So, and then it's really great because unless girls hate animals, most Korean girls like the little puppies, and it does so much of the work for me. Really, I'm sort of elevating their mood. And then we just have a coffee, and I spend an hour or two, maybe an hour and a half at the most there. And then I go for the home bounce. And of course, am I always successful? No. But anyways, that's it. If it's at night, what I do is I just tell them, I admit here, I bullshit a little bit. I'll say, like, look, I'm meeting a colleague for a dinner meeting or something, so let's meet up at 7:30 at the station and go have a drink somewhere. I know it sounds like I'm cheap, but I don't want to bother with it. I just want to I'll have something to eat at home, and then I'm all ready, looking my best, go meet her. And the area that I live in, there's a really it's about a 10-minute walk from my place, but it's a really nice, small, little, really tiny place, a little pub. But the guy plays just a lot of great old classic music.
Some like Bob Marley.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember hearing it before. That's a cool little venue.
You heard it in one of my dates.
One of your recordings, yeah.
It's a great place. The lighting it's so comfortable. The seating is, you have to sit close to her. Like the whole vibe is really good for a date. And then, let's just go have a drink. If the girl doesn't drink alcohol, he has non-alcoholic beverages available. And I'll just take a girl there and spend an hour to an hour and a half, and then try to bounce her to my place. And that's my typical D2.
Okay, I think we'll do one final question, and you're a guy who, you hook up with girls, and it seems like the majority of them want to stick around you, meet you again, date long term, or at least even for some months, right? Short term as well. How do you personally make girls feel so comfortable and cared after that they're more or less inspired to, continue meeting up with you?
Yeah, that's a very important question, and not the easiest to answer, but really, it comes, and you've heard this said in movies or something before or whatever, or maybe even some pickup gurus have advised this or something, but you have to, like with my regs, like, they always, should I say always? Well, yeah, they do. They sense, that there's other women in my life. They do, even though it's not, sometimes it's explicitly brought up, but a lot of times it isn't, but they kind of sense it. But the thing is, when I'm with any of my regs, that girl is the center of my world during that time. And, it's hard to lay out some specific strategies or something, because if you do that, the huge problem is you're not being sincere. If you have strategies,
You're not authentic.
You're not authentic. You have to genuinely care for the girl. You've got to give her that. Like, I'm not even consciously doing it, but you basically, you're fun to be with, but you're not only just fun. Like, you've got to show her genuine concern and caring, and there's times where you're serious with her. It's not all just fun, because then she starts to feel insecure. Like the girls are extremely insecure, and so they've constantly got to be reassured that you care about them. I don't ever make promises that I'm going to marry them or be with them forever. Mm-hmm. And now, having said that, regs are going to end. They're always going to come to an end eventually, unless you, maybe the rarest of cases, some woman might be okay with having some kind of special relationship with you, but she'd be a real outlier, right? Mm-hmm. Most girls are going to want you to commit to them, i.e. marry them or something.
Some years down the line.
Yes,
perhaps,
yes,
mm-hmm.
yeah, at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, every 2 to 3 years with my long-term reps, kind of cycle through them, mm-hmm. Because I was already married, and it's even if I hadn't been, I just don't know if I ever would want to be personally, but it's just not what I want. And so when reg relationships end, it's hard. It is hard, and I know you've been through it before too. The long reg, it's not easy. It's a hard thing, but it's a kind of lifestyle. But I like having relationships with women. It's my priority, as long as they're a lot younger than me, like at least 20 years and more is better. Mm-hmm. And to me, they're at least a 7 or above. Mm-hmm. I'm not.
And you mentioned the person, like the attitude, or what were you saying earlier?
Right.
You said you were looking for.
Yeah.
Their attitude, or their sort of attraction to you.
Oh yeah, right.
Their investment, I think.
Yeah, like being invested, genuinely attracted to me. Like having a good like you just said it so well. Having a good attitude, being invested, right? Like contributing to the relationship, mm-hmm. and you just got to be. It's not easy. It's not easy. Over the longer you're with them, the harder it gets to manage sort of their expectations for the future, the farther future. But I never make them any false promises, and but when I'm with them, I truly do care about them. And I don't know how helpful that is to someone listening, but because
they feel that, the girls feel
that.
the
girls feel it. Like, how can I teach that to some other guy to do? Right. It's pretty hard. Right. But you have to be authentic. You have to be sincere. Mm-hmm. And if you're not, girls just pick up on that so easily. Mm-hmm. And even if they suspect there's other women in your life, if they feel genuinely loved by you, mm-hmm. they'll stick around with you for a long time.
I want to thank Hyung-nim for coming on the podcast and sharing his experiences dating and approaching girls in his 50s, and giving us a totally different perspective that a lot of us don't have, but is not too far around the corner. So if you like this podcast, please like, subscribe, comment, and until next time.